Great to be here. Thanks. Yeah, it's fantastic. I have to say, having been part of this journey for literally a decade, I was counting. It was in 2007 when at that time I was leading the Exchange business, and we were moving to the cloud with what is now Office 365, kind of the very early days of cloud security. And this room was much smaller, by the way. And love seeing the size and the interest of this topic. To me, it's really pivotal around how central this is. Now, I was outside and I overheard someone kind of say something about Microsoft being a big sponsor here, and Microsoft's not traditionally seen as a security vendor. But it really was the rise of the commercial cloud investments that's caused Microsoft to invest so heavily in security. To the extent now they're spending $1 billion a year on security R&D. So it actually makes us one of the largest security technology vendors, but it's not in a traditional sense. Of course, we're an app and platform company and will continue to be. But the security work we can do can help both, obviously, the cloud in general, but the industry in terms of cloud adoption. Which then gets me to one of my favorite stats that came out in December, just recently, of a global IT survey or tech decision maker survey of over 1,300 respondents that showed that for the first time, half of the respondents felt that security in the cloud was better than on premises, and half still felt it was a concern. But that's a big, big shift. Again, I've been doing this for a decade, and to see it reach effectively exactly the tipping point, fantastic. We're finally there. That means in 2017, this is the year where cloud security really becomes stable in terms of people seeing that it can be superior to what's possible in an on-premises way. So incredible opportunity for all of us in this room to think about what that means. And also an opportunity to make sure that everyone understands what cloud security is. So with that, I actually want to talk to kind of top of mind around security, kind of 3 things I decided to focus on today, which really reflects both what I'm hearing in all of our customer and partner conversations, as well as the investments we're making internally at Microsoft. So I'm starting with GDPR, which might be a different topic than most of our security topics, but it is clearly the top conversation I'm having. I just spent a week in Europe, but it doesn't matter, in Asia and Australia and the US. This is so top of mind in terms of certainly relating to security, but also privacy. But I bring it up today because the cloud plays such a pivotal role in helping all of us and our customers get to GDPR compliance. As I look at what the cloud can do in terms of privacy handling, data protection, security, overall knowing where information sits and being able to manage it effectively, using cloud technology can be incredibly helpful. And I don't think that many people have kind of put those 2 things together in terms of meeting those GDPR requirements and how the cloud can expedite and further secure what they're doing. So I quickly turn GDPR conversations into a cloud conversation, and it starts to make more and more sense to people in that front. Which then, of course, glide past me into data protection. And I have kind of modern data controls. So I feel like for many, many years, we've been very focused on device security, identity security, of course, very important. And actually it was, gosh, how many years ago now, there was a very public incident from a data breach perspective. And at the time, I was leading the Office 365 business. And we had 2-factor authentication, MFA, in place for Office 365 for a while, but not a lot of usage. Immediately after that incident, I saw the MFA turned on across a vast majority of our customers using Office 365, which essentially said, hey, once it happened, people realized on that front. And I think GDPR is the catalyst of what people are continuing to think more and more about the data aspect of it as well, not just the very important identity and device. Of course, we've got to continue to reinforce those aspects, but turning more attention to how much we can do from a data controls perspective. And as I work with customers and also look at our internal R&D investments, for an example, we launched Azure Information Protection about 6 months ago or so now, data classification, rights management technology. And I knew it was going to be pretty popular, but the interest I've found is unprecedented in terms of people's interest in thinking about how they can classify and then rights manage and encrypt data protection, which again to me is just one of many signals that this is becoming more and more central and an opportunity for us to mature our thinking around the data level of protection, not just the device and just the identity, which of course all are important, but doing more and more at that data level, which ultimately is what we're trying to all protect in that area. And thinking about, we've had at Microsoft rights management services for over a decade. We've had an on-premises instantiation of that technology. I can tell you it's not that popular. It's not that well used because it's been so hard to implement. It's a fantastic product, but it took a pretty smart people, pretty sophisticated people to be able to implement that correctly. Now, data protections, rights management, it's just a SaaS service. Customers can just subscribe to it. And so the accessibility of having sophisticated data controls is so much more accessible. Again, in a time where I think it's so important, it's also becoming easier to use in that way, which goes hand in hand. But again, a place where I think the cloud has to and can play such a pivotal role to making that within reach of all of us and all of our customers. And thinking back to the GDPR aspect of it as well, as we work through our first-party services like Office 365, like Xbox services, all of those moving and getting all of the data privacy requirements and data handling requirements for GDPR, it's also an opportunity for us to share out to other partners and customers how we've done that and the way we're using cloud technologies to get to those requirements as well. So also investments we're making in that front. So to the last area around security, intelligence. And for many, many years now, we've been kind of working away across our cloud services. So just to step back for a second, Microsoft has a very broad set of cloud services from Office 365 and productivity, Dynamics 365 for business applications, of course Azure, our core infrastructure and application platform, as well as our data services and Cortana Intelligence and SQL data services across there. So we have a huge set of diverse information sitting in the cloud and in our cloud services. And we've been able to actually turn that into getting a vast set of intelligence signal. Right? We see signal coming in from Windows 10 endpoints, of course. We see intelligence signal coming in from email, Office 365, websites, are all of our information posted in the internal sites as well. We see information coming in through our core infrastructure on Azure. And this diversity of signal is something we haven't had before we had the broad Microsoft Cloud assets. So now we have incredible range of signal from a security perspective. In the past, we maybe just see what telemetry people would share from their data centers. But now we have this massive diverse range. And so we see things that maybe an attack coming in from the Azure perspective, a separate attack coming in through our identity system, a different attack coming in through Exchange Online, our email system. And individually, these might look like individual attacks, but we can actually detect that they're related. There's a correlation between them, or they're looking at a certain profile of customer. So the diversity of signal we can now get across the Microsoft Cloud is truly unprecedented and gives us a whole new view that we can then turn into different information to protect and respond to threats that happen. But then combined with that, over the decade that we've been at this commercial cloud business as well, we've got incredible depth of information. So not only is the signal we get across our cloud incredibly diverse, it's also incredibly deep. We literally have the largest commercial identity system on the planet from a cloud perspective, 450 billion authentications coming through our system each month. We have all of our Windows 10 endpoints that we're updating on a very regular basis. Actually, all of our Windows endpoints, not just 10. And then our massive commercial cloud with 200 billion emails being scrubbed for malware and spam as well. So that depth of signal, so there's the diversity, super important, so we can see different kinds of attacks, but then also that depth to get incredible accuracy around machine learning, deep learning logic, that we can start to take these individual silos of security signal and correlate them in ways that help get ahead and do that instant protection. I'm sure this room well knows that stat of the hacker sits on a company's network an average of 200 days before being discovered. That's like someone coming and sitting in your house on your couch for 200 days before you notice them. It's crazy. Right? And this type of intelligence signal that we're able to now get thanks to the cloud, because of the cloud, uniquely in the cloud, we're able to turn that into effectively zero from the moment of breach to the moment of detection. And to me, this, of all the security work we're doing at Microsoft, which is a lot, this to me is the most exciting. This to me is where we get that step function change because we have an unprecedented and a brand new set of intelligence that we have. We've woven this into what we call the Microsoft Intelligence Security Graph. If you hear us talk about that, it's basically the underlying intelligence that powers all of our cloud services and causes all of us, our cloud services, to be able to be more secure. But it's kind of that intelligence glue across that. The other thing we've done in complement across all of our cloud services, we've actually brought the people that do security across Azure, across Office 365, across Dynamics, across our SQL data services, and put them in one operations center. And they're all managing across, looking at all this information. And then when there is something, they're actually sitting together to be able to triage in the moment and be able to turn around the response as well. And the thing that I love even extends beyond just the cloud. Obviously, we're all talking about the cloud today, but an interesting example recently, we saw an attack coming into Office 365 through Exchange Online. And it was targeting a very specific type of customer, certain profile. And of course, we remediated that, but then we realized that that was probably happening to our Exchange Server customers of that same profile as well. So our operations center got in touch with customers of that profile that we knew were Exchange Server customers, and in fact saw that same attack happening in many cases. So it was an opportunity to not just make the cloud safer and help all of our customers using the cloud, but then also translate it into helping all of our customers even in the hybrid and on-premises infrastructure as well. But again, just in the beginning of this, there's obviously more and more we'll do in terms of making sure that we can identify and track threats, whether they come in from endpoint, see them when they hit the identity, see them as they hit in the email system, and coordinate those across so we have a new level of intelligence to turn around and protect all of our customers holistically. Now, I'll kind of close out from a perspective. I didn't want to spend my time here pitching you on what we're doing at Microsoft because we have all week to do that. We do have our president and general counsel speaking tomorrow morning, doing a keynote. I encourage you to listen from him, both about security but also about policy and a lot of very topical things. He works very closely with Washington and other important governments around the world around what we need to do, both from security as well as privacy. And then lots of opportunity to meet with us and talk more about what we're doing across all of our cloud services here at the event as well. So with that, thank you so much. Thanks for being part of this very important alliance and spending the day here. Thanks.